Imagine being out for a small walk at the bank of a small frozen river around dawn. Your friend is standing a few meters ahead of you. He has drawn his pistol and stopped in terror, looking across the river bank. The forest around you instantly goes quiet, and the only noise you hear is the terror-filled breathing from your friend. Across the water, in the snow, is something standing. Blood is leaking from its mouth, its eyes are glowing, and around its feet are the blood-filled remains of its last meal. This is the painting I See You by Jakub Różalski, and it is one of 4 painting in this video where we are going to look at more haunting depictions of werewolves by Różalski. Before we dive into the paintings, I want to give a quick thanks to all the response on the last video. I made a few mistakes in the last video regarding specific details around the painting, so I made sure all the details are 100% right in this video. Likewise, make sure you check out all of Różalski's works and give his art a lot of support. These videos wouldn't be possible without his amazing art. Back to the video. I See You is set in a forest at the edge of a small frozen river, and the painting reads in 3 dip bands again, the same structure Różalski uses across most of his other werewolf paintings. The foreground is the man. He stands on the near bank in a long brown overcoat with a dark top hat, holding a long flintlock style firearm in his right hand. 2/3 of his body is visible, and the viewer is placed just over his shoulder, standing on the edge of a path going through the forest. The trees around him are bare and grey, and the muddy, almost depressing color composition of the painting really plays into the dread and horror this man must experience during the encounter. The middle band is the river, narrow, and the surface is dark grey. The river is the painting's main horizontal line, separating the man from the werewolf and the forest on the other side. The background is the far bank. This is where the painting does the work. Standing in the snow on the opposite side, perhaps 2 meters beyond the water, is the werewolf. The werewolf is standing twisted on its 2 legs, and its fur is very dark compared to how the werewolves seem more grey in other works of Różalski. Likewise, the werewolf seems to be smaller than other werewolves painted by Różalski, almost like we are looking at an inexperienced young adult, which there could be made a case for, since the werewolf, in my opinion, actually looks a bit surprised, almost like it wasn't expecting the man, or it's just so inexperienced that it wasn't aware of the man's presence. Now, let's talk about what is not in the painting. There seems to be a pile of blood, perhaps 1 to 2 meters behind the werewolf, but there is no sign of any remains left. Perhaps the werewolf has been in a fight with another werewolf, and the werewolf who lost the battle managed to flee, and the werewolf we are seeing now is the victor, who is rebuilding strength again. Another point that could be made is that the man is actually hunting this werewolf, which is why the man has a pistol. Perhaps the pistol contains silver bullets, which historically is what is used to hunt werewolves. A lot can be drawn out of this painting, and at the end of the day, it is up to the viewer to decide the story of the painting. Różalski's caption when he posted this was a single line: "Pleasant meeting at the bank of the river." That is the entire story Różalski gave, and again it hints at there not being a specific narrative regarding the painting. Symbolically, the river can also be seen as a form of boundary between the wilderness of the werewolf and the civilized man on the other side of the river, or even just as a boundary between what a werewolf is, both a human and a monster. The man and the werewolf also seems to have direct eye contact, and the man's posture actually seems more dominant than the werewolf's. Let's move on to a painting where the werewolf actually gets a personal background. Territorial Behavior was painted by Różalski as a Christmas piece in 2022, and the werewolf in this painting is named Owen. The first thing you notice due to the painting's composition is the howling figure in the center, or better put, Owen the werewolf. The foreground is the field covered in snow with blood from what appears to be Santa Claus scattered across. A meter deeper in the frame, lying completely mauled on his stomach, is Santa Claus in his traditional Christmas Eve outfit. His body seems to have been dragged or thrown across the field, and there are hints at him actually putting up a fight against the werewolf due to the messed up and destroyed landscape around him, which is actually kind of funny if you imagine it. The middle band is the werewolf. It is standing on 2 legs with dark grey fur, noticeably more grey in its appearance than the werewolf before, which may hint at it being an older adult. Its head is tilted back with its mouth open in a howl pointed up at the moon. Both hands are dripping red, and you can clearly see the large claws of the werewolf being covered in blood. To the right of him in the snow is the wreckage of Santa's wooden sled, and the reindeer accompanying Santa seems to be utterly shocked. The background is the homestead, a cabin to the upper left with smoke rising from the chimney. The window being lit in the cabin and the smoke coming from the chimney actually hints at the exact narrative of the painting, that that Różalski himself explained. Let me explain why. Różalski writes in the caption of the painting that Owen the werewolf was a family man with a simple life. He loved his family and his daughters, and Christmas was always a special time for him. Then his condition, Różalski's word, deteriorated, and he started losing control over his wild nature. So he left his family to keep them safe. This is his first Christmas alone, watching the cabin from the woods, and then out of nowhere a stranger shows up at his property, which Owen cannot allow given the potential threat to his family. Obviously it is Santa Claus, so of course his family wouldn't have been in danger, but perhaps due to Owen's condition or mental state he was afraid they were. The painting story is actually sad, and I really like how it shows the curse of being a werewolf. You Found Me, Old Friend was painted by Różalski in 2022, and the people in this one have names too. The girl is named Kalina, the dog is named Uton, and the werewolf in the middle of the wolf pack used to be Kalina's father. The composition is mostly built around the motion in the painting. Yet it still follows the traditional 3 depth bands of Różalski's painting, where the painting wants you to read them in order. In the foreground is Kalina, seen from behind, leaning forward mid-stride through deep snow. She is wearing a dark coat and a long red scarf that is trailing in the wind. Her hair is dark and loose. The viewer is positioned low, a few meters behind her at the edge of the woods, watching her run into the field. The middle band is the dog Uton, maybe 2 meters ahead of Kalina. The dog seems to be more curious than surprised, which could be explained by the werewolf being Kalina's father, hinting that the dog can recognize some scent from the werewolf that he is familiar with. I really like this detail, since it hints once again at the scary duality of being a werewolf, being a normal human with a family and a dog, but then turning into a horrifying monster. There are tracks in the snow that show Kalina has been running after the dog. The dog is the only figure between her and the wolves. The background is the wolf pack. 4 wolves fanned out across the tree line. In the center of the pack, taller than the wolves, standing on 2 legs with glowing pale eyes, is the werewolf. None of the wolves are crouched, and they seem to be awaiting orders from the werewolf. The werewolf in the center is just standing, arms at its sides, looking directly at Kalina. Różalski's caption goes something like this: Kalina lost her mother years ago, killed by a bear, or so her father said. Her father changed after that event. He became distant and disappeared for days. He finally went into the woods one day and never came back. Kalina was raised in the forest with the dog Uton, who is the only companion she has left. She is afraid of wolves and has felt for years that the forest is watching her. One day, Uton starts barking and runs into the snow towards something, and Kalina runs after the dog. She freezes when she sees the wolf, then she sees what is in the middle of the wolves, and according to Różalski, there is no anger or thirst for blood in the werewolf's eye, only sadness. I really enjoy how Różalski actually gives these werewolves rich inner lives. They feel emotions and are not just stupid monsters. Alright, last painting, and in this one, Różalski moves the werewolf out of the village entirely and onto a battlefield, showing the power of them rather than their emotional depth. Dear Elisabeth was painted by Różalski in late 2025, and it is set in November of 1812 on the retreat from Russia during the Napoleon era in history. The narrator of the caption is a French soldier called Pierre, and he is writing the letter the painting is named after. The painting's composition is wide and cinematic. The foreground is a line of French soldiers in military uniforms. They are actively engaging in battle with the werewolves in the painting. A wounded soldier sits against a wagon wheel on the right. He looks completely hopeless, almost like he is experiencing shell shock from the sheer terror of the werewolves. There is a dead, leafless tree dominating the left side of the frame, and the snow across the foreground is covered with the blood of the soldiers. The middle band is the werewolves themselves. The central figure is an enormous, large, grey-furred werewolf, the largest one we have covered in these videos. It makes me wonder if this is perhaps some kind of leader within the werewolf pack. Let me know your take in the comments. Its mouth is open and it has blood across its chest and dripping from its mouth. Its expression is straight aggression, and I really enjoyed the sheer aggressive passion it shows. Just a straight killer. Behind it is the rest of the werewolves. They are only partially visible. Likewise, another battalion of werewolves, if you can call it that, are running through the snow on the right side of the frame. One particular soldier stands out in the painting, and it is the soldier on horseback with a lance. It seems as though he is facing the rest of the werewolves on his own, which is very impressive. He reminds me a lot of the guard dog from Shepherd and His Faithful Dog, which depicts a lone guard dog facing a large werewolf by himself. Różalski's story of the painting goes something like this. Pierre is one of Napoleon's soldiers. cut off from the main army after the Battle of Krasnoy, freezing and starving with what is left of his unit. The army has been plagued by Cossacks and by something else, something the soldiers first thought was a pack of hungry wolves or a bear, and then realized was something they could not explain. Demons of this land, Pierre writes, punishing them for their conceit and arrogance. They appear out of nowhere, emerging from the blizzard, tearing the soldiers apart one by one and eating them alive. At dawn, Pierre tells Elisabeth a Polish lancer will try to break through to the main army and carry the letter to her in Paris. So this is the painting where Różalski lets the werewolves become pure monsters. Previous two paintings located the werewolf inside a specific life with a rich emotional life, Owen's or Kalina's father. This one does the opposite and lets the werewolf become a brutal force of nature, protecting the land. These werewolves can be seen as nature defending itself from an invading army that has no answer for the threat they are facing. I also really like the aspect of Eastern Europe having this folk horror vibe. The nature and just general vibe of these countries really align with the vibe of werewolves. Not to mention that vampires like Count Dracula from Transylvania also exist in this part of the world. So Różalski's take on the land itself being infested with monsters that foreigners cannot comprehend is a masterful detail. These were the paintings I had found for you guys today. Różalski's works are truly amazing and I hope you will check out the rest of his art. As mentioned before, I have put links to all his social in the description. There is one painting I didn't get to in this video called Stalker, where Różalski's caption is mentioning that the werewolf is paranoid about a raven that follows him on every hunt. The werewolf is scared that the raven is going to give up his secret to the village. I thought it was a fun little insight to perhaps a more soft side of the werewolves. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe. If you have any other artist or media I should cover, please let me know in the comments and see you in the next one.